Now, Arsenal are top of the Premier League, but there is work to do in the Champions League.
Yeah, they go into the second leg of their last 16 tie with Porto, 1-0 down after a last-minute defeat in Portugal.
Well, can they turn it around at the Emirates tonight? Well, Sophie Nicolau of the Highbury Squad podcast, I'm sure, hopes that they will. Sophie, very good morning to you. Lovely to have you with us. It has been the only little setback, hasn't it, so far since the turn of the year, that first leg in Portugal. How confident are you that you will still be in that draw for the quarter-finals?
Yeah, hi, Rob. Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me. I think most Arsenal fans feel pretty confident, but I think also sensible Arsenal fans know that our pedigree in Europe isn't great. In fact, if you look at Porto's heritage in Europe, it's far superior to ours. They've won the old European Cup. They've won the Champions League. They've won the UEFA Cup and the Super Cup as well. We, unfortunately, haven't really been able to show our best in Europe, and tonight is the kind of evening that Arsenal fans are relishing. They've been craving to be back in this spot, as has the club, and I'm sure Mikel Arteta has his squad ready to compete again, something that we're showing that we are improving on with each season that he's manager of this football club.
Sophie, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. I love how the Arsenal players are saying that a holiday is the reason for their great form. I might try that with my bosses and see if I get one as well. But that game against Brentford at the weekend, that late goal from Kai Havertz, does that show you that Arsenal are ready to get stuck in, fight till the end? It's not just all about 4 and 5-0 wins every week.
Yeah, Tom, what happens in Dubai stays in Dubai. Whatever they did there, this team has come back with a totally different mentality. Mikel Arteta had a very pragmatic approach earlier in the season. And I think the win against Manchester City had a lot to do with that. And yes, winning ugly is sometimes beautiful. And there's no doubt that Arsenal have been criticised in the past for maybe being a little weak-sauced in terms of competitiveness. But the DNA and the profile of these players is completely different. Mikel Arteta and Adu deserve a lot of credit for that. The players deserve a lot of credit for that. And when you see how we were able to fight back against Brentford, get a late goal, a player like Kai Havertz coming into form at this time of the season, it's brewing to be, special stuff. But Arsenal will be judged at the end of the season. And it's all about closing. And for me, it's all about mental. And Arsenal's mental has been tested, a lot in the past. And we're proving with each season that we can come back. Missing out on the Champions League, we come back and we have this improbable run in the Premier League last season. And once again, the team is showing their evolution mentally. And for me, that's where the league or the Champions League will be won and lost.
So I think a lot of people actually connected with Arsenal are saying the same thing at the moment, that mentality-wise it seems different from last season. But physical will play a big part as well. We saw the problems that came for Arsenal when William Saliba had that injury towards the end of last season. How concerned would you be if there was something similar in terms of an issue for Gabriel Martinelli that'll keep him out for a while?
It's an interesting question because this comes up in the past 2 seasons. We've lost players at critical moments, and a lot of teams lose players at critical moments. For me, I think that how you adapt mentally to those losses is huge, and I don't think our team was quite prepared for that. But Gabriel Martinelli is a very little bit of depth. You've got Gabriel Jesus, who's back, who can play on that flank. You've also got Trossard, who can step in. Maybe Trossard is more of a super sub for a lot of the Gunners fans, and I tend to agree with that. However, he's proven that signing in January was really big for us, and he's had some really big moments as well. But for me, we've found a way to cope in the Premier League without Zinchenko, without Gabriel Jesus. But in the Champions League, those 2 players bring so much experience. And if Jesus is fit to start tonight, I would go with him. Kai Havertz the same, Jorginho the same. These are players who've been in those moments. And this is something I think we've lacked in previous seasons, to have that experience and that mentality.
You also might have a bit of extra fuel for this one, because you'll remember what the Porto boss Sergio Conceição said at the end of the first leg. He said, they wanted to play, we wanted to win. How much motivation does that give the Arsenal players? Because that is the kind of thing Mourinho would say and would really rile up the opposition.
Yeah, Arsenal have done a really good job of, I don't know if it's justice or vengeance this season, but the team has definitely had a lot of payback moments. And there's no doubt that Porto deserve a little payback. We need to be really careful to not get dragged into an ugly game, even though I think we're better at being able to manage that. We've got big players who aren't afraid to kind of step up to the referee, but do it, just enough. We've got players who can step up against other players and not be afraid to be physical. We've really lacked physicality in our side. I think we'll be prepared for that. The referee is going to have, once again, a huge say in what happens tonight. If we just play our game, get a couple of early goals. I think if we get an early goal, we'll settle down. And Porto, I think, will have to play football, which they really didn't do in the first leg.
Just finally then, Sophie, in a sentence, I'm offering you one or the other. Premier League champions or European champions? Which would you rather?
Oh, Rob, that's very naughty. This question is such a difficult one. We're desperate to win the Premier League, and we're desperate to prove that we do and can have European pedigree as well. I think that's the stick that we kind of get hit with often from opposing fans. And the Champions League would stop any of that narrative. We've been the dartboard for so long, and this Arsenal team is just built different. So for me, I always want to be champions of England. But if we want to really evolve ourselves and be able to kind of be in that European conversation, winning the Champions League will be something else. And just real quick, if Mikel Arteta and this team pull that off, I would put it up there with the achievement of the Invincibles in Anfield '89. In this area where money dominates and you've got, superstar managers like Klopp and you've got managers like Pep Guardiola, the pedigree of Bayern Munich, Carlo Ancelotti. If we were able to do this, I put it up there on that type of pedestal. But we've got a long way to go, and tonight is not going to be easy.
I think I gave you a one or the other, and you said, I'll happily take the double. So we'll go with that. Sophie, thank you very much. And I appreciate your dedication to getting the merch on at this time of the morning as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sophie.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.